time for another episode of High in Arizona, episode 367. We are seeing a bill go down that says they want more money for busting. Busting the league. Oh, come on. It's motherfucking drop day for Cannabis at Kindmeds. I got motherfucking High Marty in my possession. Let's go. All right, anyways, let's motherfucking get into this bitch. You know how I love to start it with some motherfucking Arizona music. And I don't normally shameless plug this shit, but fuck it. Fuck it.
What up, America?
Some motherfucking Jay Hornet. Wake up.
We'll get back on this train. I'm gonna get in the motherfucking studio. Some 2015 shit. You ready? Let's do it. Yo. Yeah, wasted a taste in my dabs, ridiculous. I loved it. Sunday through Monday with homies and homies hot from public. Unless we grubbing, dipping at something, collecting, running, crew of misfits who give two shits about your mumbling. Too much money for me to fuck off. Trust me and focus. Oh, you hating for me for 4 shots, but it didn't notice. Waited for prohibition, like thank God, cause all I'm married. I'm tired of police, got a car now, so fucking dare me. These neighbors hate me cause it's stanky, but these bitches love and thank me cause it's cushion and my dick is so good. I never imagined this could happen. Didn't come cause of my rapping, came from slanging borough in my neighborhood. Oh man, that's the truth. I wanted to be a motherfucking rapper. Signed and shit. Found out the hard way, America. It's all good though. So now what? What the fuck do I do now? I watch the locals in my city reminisce on life. Mistakes I made, I wouldn't trade them cause it made me wise. And now I dish a word, but they don't listen cause it's lies. Cause I didn't go and make a hit, who the fuck am I? Nobody, I'm just another motherfucker. Here's my mixtape like the others, no distinction off the cover. But I'm different, you can hear it in my spirit. They said I would've mapped this shit, but I didn't hear it. I keep on pushing, roll a cushion, kick it with some crazies. I may provoke it on some shit, but damn it, them my babies. Rest in pieces, brushed it off, I built it back up. It's Arizona living often where we fill cups. Run nugs and juggle a couple options. Do I wanna go out when it's popping? Probably not, I know this sounds crazy. I'd rather sit at home and smoke a blunt with ladies. You know? I'm gonna be back. I'm just trying to figure this shit out.
Yeah. Trying to figure it out. God damn. Marijuana. It is a motherfucking Friday. How we doing? And what are we motherfucking smoking on? Huh? I fucked up again on a Friday. Didn't get anybody to join this bitch. Damn, Jason, what happened to the Friday? Oh, we're gonna do a smoker circle. We're gonna do it, dudes. Fucked it up. Fucked it up. My apologies. Grinding though, damn it. Trying to get out there, do my motherfucking thing. Marijuana, sorry for yesterday. Had just cannabis business. I had to do some cannabis business. And I couldn't put it off. I really couldn't do it. So missed yesterday. I hope you guys had a good day. Drove out to Tucson, checked out Tucson, was in the motherfucking facility over at Cannabis. Hit a bish, man. Hit a bish at cannabisaz.com as if you need anything from Cannabis. Make sure you want to fucking reach out to us. Now, it is drop day. I know what you guys didn't know. You can officially get this GPR officially right now. Right motherfucking now. You can get this GPR at Kindmeds. Now you're like, damn, Jay, that's how it's going to be? Is this how it's going to be? Let me tell you something. This GPR is the best weed I done smoked in fucking Arizona, right? Look at this right here. It is at the top of my motherfucking charts for March. It is at the top of the motherfucking charts for 2025. It is called GPR. It is Giraffe Pussy Runts. And I'm telling you, this motherfucker is it. I am saying this is going to put cannabis on the motherfucking map. And there's only 30 jars right now as we break into these motherfucking dispensaries. Shout out to Cannabis. Shout out to Deeply Rooted coming soon. Shout out to motherfucking Saints. Shout out to a lot of motherfuckers that we're in discussions with. And you can find us now online, motherfuckers. Get it at Love Buds, okay? Very exciting things, man. For if you've been following this motherfucking journey of mine, I've been trying to dive into cannabis. I'm trying to learn this shit. I'm trying to right. We are within this shit now, right? We are within the thick of it now. So let's motherfucking go. Finally got my hands on some motherfucking High Mart. Okay, there's two brands out here that I'm with, that I fuck with, that I think they got smacking fucking weed. Okay? Handpicked, selected these motherfuckers to work with. Trust that. Now, High Mart. I finally got it in my motherfucking possession. This has been the strangest thing where I have been with a brand but haven't royally smoked it the fuck down, right? Got an opportunity to test it a month ago, smoke some joints of it, but you know me, I want to put that shit in a motherfucking blunt. Okay, let's go. So marijuana, let's get into some topics. How are you guys doing? Let's talk about that for a second. What are you inhaling? Okay, I want to decide what I want to inhale. I really want to save this GPR. I'm gonna be out at Cannabis today, highlighting this GPR, doing a stash and dash at that building, fucking around and having a good time. So make sure you come out there. You want to kick it, you want to see it firsthand. I'm gonna bring my motherfucking jar. Okay, so come fuck with it. What's up, IO Hastronaut? Got that IO Papaya, which I'm hearing we got a collab with IO when it comes to cannabis as well. Dago's on this Tenko Thin Mint cookies. Okay. You're off work at 1:30. Come through. I'm going to be there at around 4 o'clock, I believe is the time that we said. I'm going to be there at 4 o'clock. Gas Chata. Oh, I love that Gas Chata. Shout out to Abundant O on that rosin right there. Uppers, what'd Rob say? Uppers says, I agree with Rob. Where you at, Rob? What'd you say? Rob, the Gas Chata. God damn it, Jason. Ooh, Abundant dropped off some fucking Gorilla Glue for me yesterday, and this shit looks and smells. All right, I'm gonna... Got all this weed to smoke, baby. I love life. I love marijuana. I want to let you guys know that shit. Oh, that 29 is smacking. I love weed. You know what I mean? Clearly, you love weed as well. If you're up in this bitch watching a podcast, waking bacon with me at a motherfucking 9 in the morning. Hello. All right. Anyways, though, we got things to talk about. One of them is shout out to Hippie Chronicles, Allison out there, who is constantly on top of what's going down at the Capitol and informing us as a community on what's going down, okay? So she posted something that caught my attention, and it was about the law going down, 1299. They want to take money. From marijuana, right? The marijuana funds that taxes is did I say Kush Chronicles or did I say Hippie Chronicles? Did I say Hippie? Kush Chronicles, my bad. Did I say that? My bad. Kush Chronicles. I just watched a little bit of hippie stuff. Shout out to Hippie. He's got like a drop coming or he's working on something. That's probably why I said that. Shout out to Hippie. So Kush Chronicles. All right, let's get Kush Chronicles on this motherfucking screen then. Let's get him on this screen so I don't mess it up. She's probably like, damn, you already did, dude. We ain't cool. Kush Chronicles. All right, so we're going to talk about how... Let's go to it. This is good. All right. This was the one that I was paying attention to right here. Watch AZ lawmakers clash over redirecting monies, right? So we'll go into AZDHS. We'll go to the bill tracker. We'll type in SB 1299. If I did it correctly, it'll pop up. Oh, I didn't hit search. You gotta follow the rules. Okay, fuck this. I'm just gonna type marijuana, the old faithful here. Okay, we're gonna try something different then. We're gonna go to Kush Chronicles. Sorry about this, guys. Normally, know my shit. Normally, I got my shit going. Here we go. I think this is a link right to it. Here we go. And watch on YouTube. Here we go.
And I move Senate Bill 12.
So, I'm gonna roll some weed up. We're gonna motherfucking watch this shit. Hey, Kush Chronicles in here. There we go. Now, if you don't know, we're also keeping a list of the politicians in this motherfucker, right? Who are the politicians making this go down? So we're going to pay attention to that. This was interesting. I watched a little bit of it. My thing with it is going to be, it's kind of odd that you don't got money to research cannabis, right? We don't got money to research and to figure things out with cannabis, right? They say AZDHS came out and said, we ain't got it. We're supposed to get like $20 million. They came out and said, we ain't got it. We ain't got it. Yeah, that guava papaya was nice. We ain't got it. All right. So they're saying, well, we need it, right? There's this bill out there that's saying we need money to go out there and bust the illicit cannabis market. Give us some monies. Okay, here we go. This is them asking for it.
1299, receive a due pass recommendation.
Go.
Mr. Chairman, there's a strike everything amendment to 1299.
Oh.
We'll move that too.
We'll move that one too, dog. Come on, move it all over.
Page 14.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Aggress Strike Everything Amendment dated March 27, 2025 at 4:41 p.m. be adopted.
Thank you. Let's talk about the strike everything.
Mr. Chairman and members, the strike everything amendment in Representative Gress's name to Senate Bill 1299 establishes the Safe Community Enforcement Fund and requires DPS to distribute fund monies as grants to local law enforcement and prosecutors for enforcement of laws relating to the Smart and Safe Arizona Act, which legalized the sale and use of recreational marijuana. The amendment requires...
Real quick, because I was kind of curious that when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, is this about all drugs? Like, are they asking for more money to go combat all illicit sales, right? Or is it just cannabis? And he fucking cleared that up. He literally said marijuana. Okay, well, fuck.
The state treasurer, beginning fiscal year 2026 through fiscal year 2030, to transfer $2.5 million from the Smart and Safe Arizona Fund to the Safe Community Enforcement Fund. Lastly, repeals the Enforcement Fund January 1, 2031, and there is one amendment to the Strike Everything Amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Gress Amendment dated March 28th at 1:51 p.m. to the Gress Strike Everything Amendment be adopted.
Please explain that amendment.
Mr. Chairman and members, the 18-line amendment to the Strike Everything Amendment.
Man, shit is getting crazy, dude. I just need to like kind of chime in real quick. It is interesting what the fuck is going down. Like, we were talking about how we were seeing a hemp drink, move along the house. That shit has been pushed to the motherfucking side and just, that ain't happening. When the AG came out and said what she said, and then the district attorney came out and said what they said, they fucking have literally squashed all scope of any THC. If you don't have a fucking license, it is not happening in Arizona. Now, again, black market's gonna black market, baby. You ain't never been able to stop that before. So no, I'm talking about that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the THCA market, the brands that were ballsy enough to wrap their shit up and put it in a store like a smoke shop, liquor stores, gas stations. Those are the THCA brands that are out there that they are trying to squash. They can't do shit about the black market. The black market is going to black market, right? They wish. We'll hear more about it. But I'm just saying, there's an all-out attack on motherfucking hemp right now in Arizona. Holy shit.
In Representative Gress's name specifies monies in the enforcement fund are allocated through agreements or contracts rather than as grants, and includes reporting requirements for DPS relating to submitting an expenditure plan to JLBC. Happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions for the majority research staff? Saying, Mr. Gress, how about if you explain this bill to us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've heard
This
from
guy. This guy. Oh, it hurt. It's like, look, man, this is the dude. The dude, right? He's probably, motherfucker, I am a distinguished fucking politician. Respect my authority. Look, this was the person, the politician, that when I went up there, really fucking helped me. He really heard what I was saying and was like, well, wait a minute, he might be right. So damn, I knew he was anti-cannabis because he said it out his mouth. But damn, why you got to say what he's about to say? Come on.
the industry, the cannabis industry, that the illicit market of marijuana, the sale of it, is increasing significantly. Just to imagine for a second, the revenues to this fund, which are financed by a 16% tax on marijuana, it went from, in the first year of implementation, according to JLBC, the annual revenues are, they were $132 million in fiscal year 22. They jumped up to $169 million in fiscal year 2023, a slight increase to $176 million in fiscal year 24, and year to date in fiscal year 25, even, flat. Now, what the cannabis industry is telling us is that retail sales are down nearly 20%, something like that. And they believe it's because of this illicit market. They would like to see more enforcement to shut down the sales, the improper sales of marijuana, and to use the regulatory regime that we have. Now, this takes $2.5 million out of $176 million waterfall, and some are who are in that waterfall are going to testify against this amendment because they don't want to see their share of the pot go down. But I would argue, and you have police, you have community colleges, you have the Justice Reinvestment Fund, you have the Attorney General, among other beneficiaries. I am worried that you're going to see a decline. You're likely going to see that certainly in fiscal year 26. You're going to see a decline in these revenues coming into the Smart and Safe Arizona Fund. And that's going to result in lower distributions for all of these beneficiaries. So, my primary goal here is to
Bust the illicit market so you can raise money back for them. Okay.
down on illicit marijuana sales to protect the public. But B, if
What do you mean? Let's just. You're a politician. You're a politician. What do you mean, protect the public? What is happening? What is happening in the public that I'm not aware of? Can anyone enlighten me on what is happening to the public because of marijuana? Illicit. And if you want to break it down for me, what is happening to the public for illicit marijuana sales? Wow, that is a pretty big statement right there by Cran. The dispos are telling them this. They are trying to rob investors by blaming the illicit market. The opinions in the chat. I tell you, the opinions on the chat. Let's hear them.
we're really interested in preserving the waterfall, then it means that we're directing people to the legally authorized sailors of marijuana. We need them to get to the dispensaries that are regulated, monitored, they're doing age verification, etc. So these
This man hates weed, but he out there pushing weed right now like a motherfucker, ain't he? Oh, if I posted that shit on my Instagram, that'd get deleted. Yeah, we need you to go to the dispensaries to buy weed. We need you to get there. Oh, shit. Hey, and when you're there, buy Cannabis. Buy Cannabis. We're dropping today at Kind Med. Shameless motherfucking plug. Go and buy some Cannabis. Let's go.
These dollars will go to a DPS to distribute. Now, originally the thought was to use the state treasurer's office. But in my experience, the state treasurer's office has been loath to distribute dollars, and to things beyond the state treasurer's role. Here you would have them operating a grant program for law enforcement. I think that's outside of the boundary of the state treasurer's office. So we picked the Department of Public Safety, as we talked about earlier, an agency that does already administer grants to local law enforcement agencies, and can provide a better oversight of how those dollars are being spent for the purpose of cracking down on illicit marijuana sales. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Members, questions?
First question. How much illicit cannabis are you projecting being sold in Arizona? Just curious. You said that it was rising. Can we see those numbers? Can we check them out? Is that open to the public? That'd be my first question.
For Representative Grass.
Mr. Chair, Representative Grass. So the Attorney General came out with that statement, was it this week or last week, about the hemp drinks but as far as I know, there's really no enforcement money. Would this qualify for enforcement money against those kinds of things? Against normal retail establishment where the Attorney General says they're not allowed to be sold?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Wenninger, yes.
Thank you.
Members, additional questions for the Vice Chair?
Mr. Chair,
Go for
Vice Chair Gress, can you explain the need to transfer money out of Smart and Safe Arizona Fund? Is that because there's no mechanism to fund law enforcement related to basically Proposition 207 within that fund?
Mr. Grass.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Volk, I think you could go into all of it's voter protected. So this is voter protected, and if we were to go in and tinker with the waterfall and say, of the amount that law enforcement receives, X amount has to be used for enforcement of the chapter, you could do that. That's also a way that now you would affect law enforcement's cut, and so right now, as it stands, everybody is impacted because we take off the top the 2.5 million before the distribution occurs. So you could do it the other way, where you earmark a certain amount of money within the law enforcement portion for explicit enforcement.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Vice Chair Gress, but essentially the purpose of this legislation is by your analysis and maybe analysis of others, the current law enforcement money that's within the Smart and Safe Arizona Fund is not sufficient to deal with the illicit enforcement.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Volk, that is our view, and I think there will be someone from the industry who works with law enforcement in this area who might be able to speak to that some more.
Great. Additional questions for the Vice Chair? Okay, Vice Chair, how many people do we have signed in for this? If you could check.
Oh, yeah. Let me check.
Mine's being finicky. I don't know.
Fuck, man, we gotta be pulling up to this shit. I feel like I dropped the ball, you guys. I feel like I dropped the ball on talking about this stuff the past couple of weeks, so we have awareness of this going on. I'm dropping the fucking ball. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it.
It's all night with it.
Wow, we have a lot of people here. Hold on. Okay. We have
Call
one,
somebody who's
two.
against also.
Okay. AJ Jacobs.
AJ,
Come
you
on
here?
down.
Introduce yourself. Tell us if you're for or against the bill and why.
Thank you very much, everyone, from this committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is AJ Jacobs. I'm from LD 15. I'm a precinct committeeman. I rise in behalf of Arizona Normal to oppose this bill. Just very quickly and very briefly, I am a military veteran. I'm also a former state trooper of over a decade here in the state of Arizona, and I worked for DPS. I had an entire speech prepared out, yet everything that's just been said has pretty much covered everything that's been said. I want to speak now on my personal experience to DPS and what I saw and all that. It's been some time, but what's happened here over the last decade or so is that, we have had legalization. We have had essentially decriminalization. And what's not been identified is any new threats. There's not been any new threats that have been identified regarding public safety. So just as it's been stated, this is going to take 2.5 million.
Yo, differences aside, the motherfucker went up there and said that shit. Differences aside, he went up there and said what needed to be said. That's tight. I fuck with that. He said, what are you talking about? What problems are we having?
$1 million off. It's going to take money away from the community colleges. This has all been, I'm just saying the same thing over here. But this is going to give direct control of a law enforcement agency to be told to go after specific things that are not being addressed as a public safety, that are not coming up as a public safety issue in regards to cannabis being one of the most benign substances used. So with that being said, this is a mechanism to fund itself, to go after itself, to prove to itself that we need to fund itself to go after itself.
That part
this is
confused
just it's going to be creating its own revenue stream to fund itself to go after those that are in the illicit market. So with that being said, we do oppose this bill in the regards that it is taking money away from other people who have, who it's been earmarked. It is going to take money away from law enforcement agencies that have the autonomy to decide what it is that they want to focus on regarding their enforcement for their specific agency from the Smart and Safe Act, and it's now going to force them into enforcing cannabis and hemp laws. It's going to force them to do that. But that, again, that's taking the autonomy away from the law enforcement agencies to go after what they know to be true in their own neighborhoods, to go after.
30 seconds.
Thank you very much. So at that time, that's all I have at this point, if anybody has any questions.
Members, any questions for our guests? Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Thank you.
You know when they don't ask questions that you didn't rally shit. If they don't ask you a question, you did not motivate them one way or the other. That's what's unfortunate about that. I appreciate that AJ went up there and said that. I wish he would have used maybe some of that experience in some way. You know what I mean? Like, you have experience from the past. They're saying that we're having more issues than the past. Like, damn, you could have, maybe came about it a little bit. Like, I like the first line where he comes out and says, what problems are we having?
Mr. Vice Chair, next.
Timothy Sparling.
Welcome, sir. Same rules.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members. Timothy Sparling for Sparling Law Group and Consulting on behalf of Arizona Normal, and I
Fuck, I should be writing these names down, man. I'm slipping today.
stand to state that Arizona Normal opposes the Strike Everything Amendment. Basically, our concerns are threefold. Number one, obviously, this is taking money away from colleges. This is taking money away from municipal.
Was he from the 88 or the fucking? My bad, guys. I'm slipping a little bit.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members. Timothy Sparling for Sparling Law Group and Consulting on behalf of Arizona Normal, and I stand to state that Arizona Normal opposes the Strike Everything
Where did I
Amendment.
hear 88 from?
Basically, our concerns are threefold. Number one, obviously, this is taking money away from colleges. This is taking money away from municipal police departments. This is taking money away from municipal fire departments. That is a huge concern, but I think many other people are going to speak to that issue. Really, what I want to speak to is our second concern, which is exactly what Representative Winiger pointed out. Really, what this does is this creates a funding mechanism for a special interest group to basically push spurious and legally suspect prosecutions of their competitors, specifically the hemp industry. That is a huge concern with this particular piece of legislation, this particular Strike Everything Amendment, because this is basically using the prosecution or the justice system to attack competitors.
In your opinion.
In the opinion of Arizona Normal. Our third concern is that there is possible that basically this invites litigation, voter protection issues. Insofar as this is not in agreement with the underlying purposes of legalization, we also believe that this is going to invite litigation over this particular area. So our position ultimately is that this is basically legislation that is weaponizing the justice system to attack a special interest group's competitors, and it's going to invite litigation. And with that, I stand for questions.
Members, any questions for our guest? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next.
Bro, I just realized something right now because of Unregulated Podcast's comment. I have kids. I study this shit. We have one of the fucking lowest ranked school districts in the motherfucking nation. Y'all talking about fucking for the kids. Why don't you fix that shit? Damn, all right. Look, I get a little upset when we talk about the kids, all right? Because I got kids, man. Come on, man. Our fucking school system is fucked. I'm dropping something on that. Arizona. Our school districts are ranked some of the lowest in the nation. Don't tell me that you're focused on the kids when our fucking education system in Arizona is what it is. Dead last. Stop. Damn.
I think that's all I have against the bill.
Marilyn,
Oh, but you didn't say you wanted to speak.
do you want to
Would
speak?
you like to speak?
Come on up. You did such a great job on the other bill.
Thank you. Our opposition is unique. I promise I'm not wasting your time. Marilyn Rodriguez from the ACLU of Arizona this time, not necessarily related to the intent, but opposed to the fund transfer from the Smart and Safe Fund outlined in the striker and not to protect the waterfall, actually. So ACLU advised on the drafting of Prop 207 and supported its passage. And we specifically advised on the sections decriminalizing possession of marijuana for personal use, the expungement of criminal charges stemming from historical arrests, the policing of improper use of marijuana, and the creation of the Justice Reinvestment Fund to ensure that a portion of the monies earned by the sale of the drug are being reinvested back into the community, especially those disproportionately impacted by the criminalization of marijuana. Prop 207 created powers under DHS and the AG to enforce the act, and this is the crux of our opposition, and I think could be fixed with an amendment. Under 362854B2, in order to remain compliant with the VPA, this conversation should focus on whatever the budgetary amount the AG and DHS need to ensure compliance with the law. So we're opposed to the utilization of the Smart and Safe Fund for the purposes of allocating money to DPS to send grants to local law enforcement, when the act is very clear that that is the AG's role, and it even goes further into the act stating that the AG can grant those funds to localities for enforcement. Prop 207.
Let me interrupt you for a second
Yeah.
there, because I just want to clarify what I
Can
think
you
I
do
heard.
that?
Possible cow amendment So instead of having DPS make the grants, have the AG make the grants.
Mr. Chair, yes, and I would argue that you wouldn't even necessarily need a bill. I guess it depends on how DHS is interpreting this act, and it's my understanding that there's some dispute. But if the idea is to create money or further monies to enforce non-compliance with not having a license, before you even jump into the waterfall, the Smart and Safe Fund says that DHS can take as much from the fund as it wants in order to enforce the act. And if that's not happening, I think that's probably the impetus for this legislation.
Okay.
But if the money doesn't go to the AG or DHS, then it's a violation of the VPA, and that's our position on the bill.
Makes sense. Wow. Very.
Wow. Okay. So what she just came up and said, AZDHS, you have the ability to take funds to make sure that this is going down, is what is going down, is what she just said. She basically just said the AZDHS don't really know what the fuck they're doing. In my opinion, a little bit. Like, if you don't know that.
Very intelligent. Thank you. Members,
Fact.
questions for this guest? Jeff.
Mr. Chair, Marilyn.
Point proven. AJ. Damn.
But it took the AG and a bill being ran on the hemp drinks and most of the dispensaries saying, yeah, these should just be sold in the dispensaries, saying that even a lot of people took the position that proposing that bill, was going to violate everything and it should only be in there. So if it took the AG until last week when there was a bill scheduled to be heard after years to do a cease and desist, I guess I'm wondering why you have so much confidence in the AG that they would enforce.
She's not saying she has confidence. She's saying that's her job. What do you mean? So because we have now I'm not saying, look, this is just where he's referencing, right? So you're saying, oh, well, they ain't done shit. They ain't done their job, right? So we got to write it in?
The very order that they put out, and that the associations and the people would have the money needed to do the enforcement, because I think you were in the stakeholder meeting. Okay, you weren't. They said they didn't have any money for enforcement, and they thought it was illegal, but until the AG came out and said it wasn't enforceable anyway, in their opinion.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Gress read off the amount of monies that the recreational sale of marijuana has produced. Those are the monies in the fund. It is certainly the state's prerogative to regulate hemp beverages. I'm not trying to get into whether that's right or wrong, but if hemp beverages fall outside of Prop 207, if that's the direction that the legislature wants to go, then they inherently do not fall inside of enforcement of Prop 207. And if they do...
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt, I think the lack of the bill being up today and the what the AG said last week is that it falls squarely under it and has to abide by the marijuana laws, which is why they had the cease and desist, and the big mega liquor stores are taking them out. And we had dispensaries complaining that vape shops and different little stores were selling it. So now you have an AG who finally said
she got okay.
They're not selling them legally. So I guess my main question was, if that's the case and all those facts are clear at this point, where's the confidence if the AG just got around to doing this, that they would be doing enforcement of that or anything else?
So before you answer that, I think it shows why we need this bill, even if it goes to the AG or if it goes to DPS, to say you have to do the enforcement, and here it is.
Mr. Chair, I don't...
All right.
I don't want to speak on behalf of the AG's office, and I haven't been in the stakeholder meetings. What activated me, and I was going to speak against the other bill as well until it was held, with the same objections. If the interpretation of the enforcement of these items under the retail licenses is that it falls under the scope of Prop 207, then the voters were very clear about how enforcement works and how it doesn't. And so either way, shifting money to DPS is improper. It has to go through these channels that exist. If it falls outside of that, then that's a separate question, and it is your prerogative to regulate those items, but it would fall outside of Prop 207 and the enforcement created underneath it. And I'm not trying to make an argument either way. What I am saying is, whatever direction you go, please keep that in mind. And for 1229, if the idea is that we want the enforcement of these licenses to crack down on these inappropriate sales, then the way to do that is by sending money to the AG. Otherwise, you are running afoul of the regulatory infrastructure created by Smart and Safe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to push back on that for a second because we already have 0.2%.
Wow. 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 Why? Why? Why are you pushing back? Well, let's hear him.
Of the waterfall goes to the Attorney General to use to enforce this chapter or to grant to localities to enforce this chapter. Now, all we're doing is sending the money to DPS, and DPS is a pass-through. So your suggestion is we'll send it to the Attorney General as a pass-through and require them to distribute it to the localities.
No, Mr. Chair, Representative Gress, under 362854B2, DHS, subject to Title 41, Chapter 6, I'm skipping ahead, can assess a civil penalty each day a violation occurs. They are to enforce this act. And monies within Prop 207 under 362856B1 and 2, and then D5, all monies in the Smart and Safe Fund must first be spent, and the treasurer shall transfer monies to pay for the actual and reasonable costs by the department to implement, carry out, and enforce this chapter, and actual and reasonable costs incurred by the Department of Revenue to impose and enforce the tax. So that's why I said it's not even clear to me why you need a bill. They can already raid the fund to work with the AG to enforce this. But if it's some kind of interpretation issue, then 1299 with that amendment to the AG's office would resolve those concerns in line with the act.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Well, Marilyn, I hear that what you're saying, that it's the role of the Department of Health Services to enforce this chapter, but enforcement responsibility is also given to the Attorney General and to the localities, because they've said use some of this money, Attorney General, to enforce the chapter, or you can grant it to localities for enforcement. So there already is an acknowledgement, and it sounds like you agree, that localities could play some role in enforcement, and it could be funded using these tax dollars. Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Representative Gress, yes. Our main objection is that it's going to DPS and not the AG.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
What if we send it to the treasurer? Because the treasurer also has distribution responsibilities in this chapter. So could we do that?
Mr. Chair, Representative Gress, and then where? I think is the question.
To the localities.
I am not sure that that is consistent. Again, because of the way that this is very clearly prescribed in the Act. It says that DHS and the AG enforce, not that the treasurer enforces, just that the treasurer disperses these dollars. So if you're shifting them around, the VPA is very clear that you can't just shift the money if you're not in agreement with how a department is handling something.
Mr. Chairman. What if we send it to DHS?
Mr. Chair, Representative Gress, you wouldn't need the bill. It already goes to DHS, and they already under.
But they're not using that power.
Yeah,
So
I think the question is,
so that's why we're
this
getting
enforcement's
closer.
not happening.
Yeah, understood. I'm trying to make very clear that
Yep.
you have VPA restrictions, and so if the issue is resources and the issue is enforcement, then the appropriate place to send these dollars is the AG's office.
So I'm going to request that you send my vice chair an email with your recommendation.
Thank you.
Members, additional questions for this guest? Seeing none, let's call somebody else up.
Pele.
Wow. Let's go back and see who that was, right? Impressive. She wrote the bill, so she went up there and said, no, this is all good. We got this, guys. We don't need this bill. We're here wasting taxpayers' dollars right now. Being in here. You want something to handle? Read the bill. You got it. Wild.
Do Do you want to
Would
speak?
you like to speak?
Come on up. You did such a great job on the other bill.
Thank you. Our opposition is unique. I promise I'm not wasting your time. Marilyn Rodriguez.
Marilyn Rodriguez, man. Let me tell you something. Do you represent?
From the ACLU of Arizona this time, not necessarily related to the intent, but opposed.
You did such a great job on the other bill.
Thank you. Our opposition is unique. I promise I'm not wasting your time. Marilyn Rodriguez, from the ACLU of Arizona this time.
ACLU of Arizona. What is that? I have to look that up. That was interesting, right? Why the... Look at this is just my Neanderthal take, right? This is just, I'm just going to say, you know, and just it's interesting that it's like, damn, you guys could do what you want to do. We wrote the law so the AG can do what the AG needs to do to fix illicit sales. If that's what you're worried about, the AG's got the power. It says it in the bill, Prop 207, currently right now. It's good. You got the power. You don't need this bill. You don't need it. And the kickback was, well, they're not doing it. Now, if it's the AG's job, I'm going off a little bit on this. My apologies. But I'm just kind of like assessing the situation, right? Maybe the AG is assessing the situation, looking across the board on what is a problem here in Arizona. And with their job, making the decision that cannabis isn't worth going after. Maybe it's fentanyl right now. You know, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't know. I don't get to see the numbers. And I think that's where we would all love to see the numbers probably on what is really going down in illicit drug sales. Who's really, what is the problem? And where does cannabis align with that? You know who has that information? The Attorney General, right? All stats being released to them. Boop, 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 boop. So when they come on here and say, oh, the Attorney General's not doing it, well, okay, why? Let's look into that. This is probably a reason. And what they're saying is, no. We just need to make sure we have something to make sure they do what we want them to do, is what this is sounding like. The Attorney General doesn't agree that it's a problem, is how I take this. If the Attorney General, now, okay, let me backtrack. Actually, she just came out last week, obviously, you know what I'm saying, and saying that, all right, so that was a dumb statement. But what I mean is, what I'm trying to say is, how much is cannabis a problem to the public in Arizona? Is it something that needs its own fund to protect the community? Do we have a fentanyl fucking fund? Do we? I don't know. I don't know. If we do, we do. Okay, so this may be aligned and shit like that. This is the conversation I want to start. If you have feelings, if you have opinions, please let me know. Let's hear what Pele Fisher has to say about this situation, though. We're going to go on. She's next.
Sure. I was about to say peacock.
That's okay. I go by you.
Thank you for waiting all day for this.
Pele Peacock Fisher, for the record, on behalf of the Arizona's Dispensaries Association. I want to be clear that there are new threats and public safety issues unsafe, untested, intoxicating products containing THC, marijuana are being sold in retailers, smoke shops, convenience stores, and online, sold in packages attractive to kids and marketed to kids. I'm sure all of you have seen me carrying around my bag of goods, of Runts, Skittles, Nerds, of THC products that are being sold in the unregulated market. Data from the state's poison control hotlines have shown hundreds of calls and hospitalizations, including several children who have required emergency hospitalizations and treatment in ICU after ingesting unregulated, unsafe products. We've talked about the AG clarifying the legality of these, and in order to reduce youth access to these intoxicating and enforce retailer compliance with state law, funding is needed to enforce retailer compliance on Prop 207, not to criminalize the purchasers of these products. The governor's executive budget included funding for this purposes, but this allows us to use Prop 207 instead of general fund dollars, which it is in furthering the purpose of the VPA. Enforcing the chapter is very clear in it. I've worked with the AG's office over the years, and I don't think anyone's here, so I'm not speaking for them, but if you look at the distributions, there's I think it's about $150,000 that's gone annual as part of their 0.01% of the fund, and that hasn't been enough to hire a full-time investigator or attorney on the project. And so we're really trying to work with local law enforcement, the AG's office,
30 seconds.
all these people that can enforce it. And I just want to be clear, this is taking 1% off the top. This should have minimal impacts on the waterfall. It's for a short period of time to deal with basically a public health crisis we have out there, to get these unregulated products off the shelves and deal with it, so then hopefully all the beneficiaries continue to flourish from the money that was intended to give back for the community benefit.
Excellent. Members, questions for this guest?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just thank you, Ms. Fisher. Do you have any sense of how widespread the illicit sellers are, and what kind of, share of the current market? Is it a growing market share relative to legal sellers?
Great question.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Volk, I do think that we have a major problem in our hand. I live in Maricopa County, and since this issue's been going, I've been dealing with this issue for the last couple of years. I stop at smoke shops when I drive by them and ask them if they are selling THC and marijuana, and they direct me right to the shelves on the products. And there are levels way higher than you're allowed to sell in a dispensary. Packaging you're not allowed to have in a dispensary. You're going to start to get ads, but if you get on your phone and Google it or put it on Amazon, it's readily available. Something has to be done, and I really come out.
Why is that even a problem, though? First off, why is that a problem? Where's the public health crisis leading from this happening? Show us numbers. Stop projecting. Show us numbers. As a parent, I'm asking you, let me see. I want to know. Please. Show me how this is a public health crisis, because I am fucking unaware.
This from a parent, and the purpose of Prop 207 to keep this in a highly regulated, safe market that kept products away from kids and taxed them and gave them back to the community. And so we have to do something about this. Smoke shops aren't required to take ID or age verify for them. We've done some heat mapping showing high schools close to smoke shops. There's huge traffic going from high schools to smoke.
All right, damn dog. I just gotta chill.
Shops, and we can infer, whatever products they're getting in that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Ms. Fisher, you mentioned you had some conversations with DHS. What is the holdup towards directing more towards enforcement?
Yeah, so there has been a lot of conversations about where enforcement lies. DHS sees their authority over regulating the licensees. I do think that there is purview within the Smart and Safe Act to give money towards law enforcement, but I think this makes a statement that this is what you as the legislature want to do in order to make sure that these illicit products aren't being sold. And again, you know, it's really meant as a short duration
You're right, Chris.
stopgap to really raise attention, get these products off the shelves, and that if people want to buy THC marijuana, they're buying it through the legal regulated market.
Because that benefits you guys, not
Members,
because it's a
additional
public health
questions?
crisis.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being here. Mr. Vice Chair. No one else?
Yep.
Wow, this
Okay.
is wild.
Closing comments on, before we move the two amendments?
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not necessarily sure I agree with the legal analysis that this runs afoul of the VPA, only because it has to further the intent of the VPA, and ensuring that the chapter is enforced is furthering the purpose of the law of 207. Pele's right. I mean, there is a burgeoning illicit market, and you are seeing that bear out in the revenues, the tax revenues. The fact that Richard Stavniak told me today that revenues in fiscal year 25 are equal or are flat, basically the same as fiscal year to date, fiscal year 2024, should tell you something. You saw a big, like a 28% jump between 22 and 23, a 4 or 5% jump between 23 and 24, and you're basically flat right now. Despite more people moving here, you should be seeing more sales actually as the market matures. But I think you're going to see a reversal of that in 26 and 27 with declining revenue because of this rampant illicit activity outside of the boundaries of 207. So this is a way that we can do it. Apparently it is consistent with Governor Hobbs's budget. She has proposed funding for this. We're using the Smart and Safe Fund as a funding mechanism. And I say to my friends from Normal, there's nothing to hide, right? We make sure we enforce 207 and that they are going to well-regulated, safe, monitored sites if folks want to get their marijuana. And so I encourage my colleagues to support this.
And I would just like to add that I would like you to take the amendment that people email you and at least ask our legal counsel and see what they say.
We will.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have the two amendments to move, so let's do this in order here. See no further public testimony. The question before you is the Gress amendment to the Gress Strike Everything Amendment be adopted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment to the amendment is adopted, so ordered. Mr. Vice Chair, please move your Strike Everything Amendment as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Gress Strike Everything Amendment as amended to Senate Bill 1299 be adopted.
Thank you. Question before you is the Strike Everything Amendment as amended be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The Strike Everything Amendment as amended is adopted. And let's go ahead and move the bill as amended, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that Senate Bill 1299 as amended receive a due pass recommendation.
Thank you, members. The questions before you is Senate Bill 1299 as amended receive a due pass recommendation. Roll call vote.
Representative Austin?
Nay.
Representative Blackman?
Yes.
Representative Blackman?
Nay.
Representative Diaz?
Chairman,
Please.
I'm going to vote yes. I've got some questions about the bill itself, and part of that is just the marketplace and what it's how it's moving along that line. With that as a yes, thank you.
Representative Gutierrez?
Mr. Chair.
Please.
Thank you. I got a few emails about this from folks in Tucson, and I just want to read what this says. This is a person from the Second Chance. Tucson, a nonprofit dedicated to assisting people transitioning from prison to back to community, including helping justice system involved people overcome barriers to employment. They are urging a no because Prop 207 money was to be directed in part to help community-based efforts to preemptively attack the problems that lead to drug dependence so that the reactive efforts of law enforcement are not needed. Hush by Nursery is one of these recipients. They help opioid-dependent women pre and postpartum to recover and keep their infant child healthy with family. And then Stuck Community Acupuncture is providing mobile ear acupuncture services in northern Arizona to help marginalized people in dealing with the effects of trauma, chronic stress, and addiction, including providing services at the bottom of the Grand Canyon to the Havasupai tribal community. These innovative and community-based initiatives should be encouraged and supported by more resources instead of having resources redirected to law enforcement in the misguided belief that we can arrest our way out of problems. So I am a no tonight.
Aye. Representative Bell.
Aye.
Representative Olson.
Aye.
Representative Rivero.
Aye.
Representative Sandoval. Nay. Representative Stahl Hamilton.
Mr. Chair?
Please do.
Yeah, thank you. As I have been listening and looking at request to speak, it has caught my attention that some of the folks who have weighed in against this bill are some of the people who actually benefit from Prop 207. And and I think that is actually good information for me to take in as I'm making my decision. And with that, I am a nay.
Wow.
Representative Roberts. Representative Bolton.
Mr. Chairman, I explain my vote?
Yes.
So I do worry about the decline in, but the potential decline in legal marijuana revenue, because that's the pie, and I don't want to see that pie shrink. I do think, obviously, with any voter protected act, we have got to be very careful. I'm going to do some more research on the potential paths, whether through the AG or DHS. But for now, I'll be present.
I appreciated his questions.
Aye.
Representative Winiger.
Aye.
Representative Willoughby. Aye. Vice Chairman Gress.
Mr. Chairman.
Please do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank my colleagues for their support. I do want to address a couple of things. Representative Gutierrez mentioned the Justice, the Justice Reinvestment Fund. That fund received about $17.6 million in total last year. If this bill were in place, that fund would receive $17.4 million, so a decline of $200,000. But as Representative Volk pointed out, I think that you're going to start to see declines because the legal market is not being enforced. I would be worried, and mark my words, if this isn't advance out in this legislative session, in a couple of years, you'll start to see a constriction in those revenues. They will go down because we're not enforcing the proper marketplace. And the goal here is to crack down on sales, the people who are selling this stuff. We're not going after users. We're going after businesses that have set up shop in violation of Prop 207. That's what we're trying to do here. So I think that's really important.
Problem is, it's not, though, right? We'll find out. We'll look into it. There's lawyers on both sides. Because that is the stance that is now standing on, the AG standing on, is that, there's something within the Prop 207 that made it illegal. I believe that's where they're on. I know that there was a reference to a Vermont situation. Another option, though, right? Another option, instead of creating people going through the system, right? Getting arrested and I don't know if anyone's ever gone through the system, and it's a motherfucker, right? You know? So why not regulate what is going on instead of eliminate? You know, obviously you're looking at the public support this when you say for public safety, or we hear Pele Fisher from the ADA say it's a public health crisis. Is it really? Like, where do you see this? Please. I mean, like, it's almost like if we were sitting in a circle with people and someone says something outlandish, right? Like, we're just supposed to believe that? No. What are you talking about? Like, give us some information on where this is a public health crisis, because I would think that the public is showing that they prefer some of this route. So if that's the case, if we're generating tax dollars off what the public is supporting, regulate it, right? Regulate, make sure it's healthy, because you're saying it's for public health, but you're not discussing anything about just making sure that the products are tested, making sure they go under the same circumstances. In fact, we see the same representatives deny bills that are for that very thing, to regulate it, to make sure it's safe for the public, to keep what we're seeing with small mom and pop businesses. There's people all over Arizona that are now able to get into the industry, into cannabis, with the 2018 Farm Bill, and it's been what we've seen successful, in my opinion. They're saying it's a health crisis. I don't understand that. So I need to understand, as I am a citizen out here in Arizona. I'm a smoker. I'm a taxpayer. So this is just me reacting. But why would you stop if it is a public health crisis, why did you stop it from being regulated? And why are you fighting so hard to create bills that will arrest people? That's what I see here. It's just, looking in like, damn.
Important, and happy to continue looking at alternative pathways. If DHS feels like they need more authority to get involved with the enforcement, then maybe we need to be more explicit with the language that says, DHS, we want you, this isn't just a licensing matter, this is an access to illicit substances matter outside of the confines of 207. So I'm open to that, but if we need to give DHS a clear statutory line of responsibility, then maybe we should make that change. And then say you got to distribute money to the law enforcement in consultation with perhaps the AG and DPS, because those folks play a role. DPS has the relationships with all of the law enforcement, as does the AG, but DPS grants more monies to these local law enforcement agencies. I'd want them to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts here, but we can look through that, sit down and find some common ground on that. I think we can get that done. With that, I vote aye.
Chairman Livingston.
So members, I'm confused by this vote, to tell you the truth. I think we clearly heard from Marilyn that, and she read it, that in Prop 207, this can be done. Now, maybe who should do it is a different item. I get that. But it's clearly that this should be done. And when I looked at my emails and I listened to testimony and members speaking, I just came to the conclusion that the people that voiced their opinion against this did so because people that are currently getting money, they are trying to protect. And the people that testified of protecting their interest are the flow of cash to them. That's my conclusion. I could be wrong. This is not my specialty. Again, I'd rather talk pensions and insurance than this. But solving themselves is how I interpreted most of the answers to this from the people who spoke. And if I'm wrong, let me know and personally tell me that. And then what's happened in the last week with the AG coming out, with the governor coming out and saying we need to fight for kids. We need to go after the illegal sellers. Most of the illegal sellers are happening near high schools. I thought it would be 18-0, to tell you the truth. I didn't count votes. But I'm just confused and disappointed that it wasn't. And maybe the governor and the AG can reach out to members on both sides of the aisle and ask for support of this. I know Mr. Gress has worked very hard on this. He's always, like me, open to amendments when they make sense.
I thought he was going
Good
a different
amendments
direction.
usually make good sense. And bad amendments make bad sense. It's just that simple. So let's keep working on this, but I think people need to listen more to the experts testifying than people sending emails protecting what they have. That's how I would explain it for a non-expert on this subject matter.
Wait, what the fuck?
And
you
with
said?
that,
I'm sorry, I got tailed off thinking about.
listen more to the experts testifying than people sending emails protecting what they have. That's how I would explain it for a non.
Wow. That's what. Wow. First off, if you think, all right, I gotta chill out, man. This shit's fucking crazy. That was crazy.
What the fuck was that?